You ever watch someone burn every bridge they proudly marched across? That's what's happening right now with Meghan Markle. Except this time, it's not behind palace walls or in a tightly controlled interview. It's happening live, on stage, and in front of the very people who once cheered her on. Tyler Perry lit the match and Hollywood is watching it all burn. Before we dive deeper, make sure you're subscribed. This story is evolving fast, and the unraveling of Meghan's media empire is the kind of behind-the-scenes chaos you won't hear from mainstream headlines. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. It started at the BET Awards. The evening was supposed to be a celebration, nothing controversial, nothing political, just a glamorous night of tributes and performances. But then Tyler Perry stepped up to the microphone. His speech began as expected, gracious, composed, respectful. And then came the curveball, without naming names. Perry dropped a line that sent shockwaves through the room. "You can't build a palace on unpaid bills." The audience froze. No gasps, no whispers, just silence, the kind that screams louder than applause. Because everyone knew exactly who he meant. This wasn't some vague metaphor. This was a surgical strike. Perry, the man who once opened his home, his wallet, and his private jet to Meghan and Harry during their post-royal freefall, had just delivered a public warning. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't playful. It was deliberate. You see, Perry was more than a casual supporter. Back in 2020, when Meghan and Harry left the UK in a storm of tabloid headlines and broken royal ties, Tyler Perry became their lifeline. He provided them with a gated LA mansion, full-time security, and the privacy they claimed they desperately needed. No strings attached. At least, none that we knew of until now, because Perry didn't just go off script. He drew a line in the sand, and he did it in front of the entire industry. What he didn't say out loud, the audience already knew. Years of generosity, years of support, and allegedly, not a single dollar repaid. And if that weren't enough of a gut punch, here comes the silence that says even more than words. Oprah, the woman who handed Meghan a global megaphone in that infamous 2021 interview, interview watched by 17 million people worldwide, is now radio silent. No follow-ups, no public statements, no social media shoutouts. According to sources close to Harpo Productions, Oprah hasn't even mentioned Meghan's name in months. It's not a coincidence. Hollywood is built on relationships, and when even Oprah steps back, you're not just losing a friend, you're losing your lifeline. But Perry and Oprah weren't isolated incidents. Their public and private retreats were just the beginning of a larger movement happening behind closed doors. Hollywood's elite are dropping Meghan faster than her Netflix ratings. Top-tier talent agencies, WME, CAA, even UTA are reportedly turning down any association with her. Why? Because of something insiders are now calling the Markle risk factor. Sounds like a bad investment rating, right? But that's exactly what it's become. What started as a royal rebellion has now turned into a reputation nightmare. One where every project is burdened with baggage, every phone call gets dodged, and every partnership ends in public fallout. Netflix handed Meghan and Harry $100 million in good faith, believing they'd produce the next big streaming hit. Instead, Pearl, an animated show, got cancelled before it even launched. Love to Lead barely made a dent, and their big deal docuseries, critics panned it as Goop meets Suits, with none of the charm. No matter where she turns, the results are the same: underwhelming, underperforming, and ultimately unfinished. So why did Tyler Perry help in the first place? Back then, it looked like a cause, a mission, a humanitarian gesture. Meghan and Harry said they were escaping the toxic environment of the monarchy. Tyler believed them. He stepped up, gave them shelter, gave them safety, gave them hope. But hope doesn't pay invoices. And as one Perry insider put it, this wasn't philanthropy, it was charity without consent. Let that sink in. What we're seeing now isn't some petty celebrity feud, it's a high-stakes unraveling. Meghan's not just losing Hollywood friends, she's losing the illusion of credibility, and behind the scenes, the situation gets darker. Multiple U.S. financial institutions have reportedly raised red flags about the Archwell Foundation and Harry's nonprofit. Watchdogs are whispering about inflated consulting fees, suspicious delays in reimbursements, and expense reports that read more like a red carpet wish list than charitable spending. One banking executive told Forbes point blank, "Meghan Markle is brand rich, but cash poor." Translation? She looks powerful on paper, but in reality, she's living off projected success that keeps slipping further and further out of reach. Her 2024 tax filings didn't help. Archwell reported nearly $3 million in administrative expenses. 0 cents went to content output. Let that sit for a second. $3 million in, and barely anything to show for it. And now, legal analysts are circling. Some are openly questioning whether the foundation's spending even qualifies as nonprofit behavior. Personal stylists, travel, vague media consultant roles, it's got Audit Me written all over it. But we're not done yet. Because just when you thought the cracks couldn't spread any wider, the Spotify disaster hit the $20 million podcast deal that was supposed to launch. Meghan's reign as a media mogul collapsed after just 12 episodes. Not only did it imploded, and when it did, it wasn't with a whisper. It was with an executive saying, on record, that Meghan and Harry were, quote, in grifters. Internally, Spotify staff said they were done. They'd had enough of promises with no follow-through. Meghan had reportedly overpromised content, blamed others when deadlines slipped, and spent more time curating her image than creating anything of real value. She tried to salvage it with a new podcast teaser, Confessions of a Female Founder, a comeback pitch meant to show her grit, her vision, her relevance. But even that flopped. Early focus groups called it confusing, self-important, and worst of all, boring. It didn't trend. It didn't catch fire. To reignite public interest, the industry was quietly erasing her name from every list that mattered. Vanity Fair's Oscar party. She didn't even get a whisper of an invite. And it wasn't just because she's out of the royal bubble, it's because no one wants the chaos she brings. Event planners say they're done with the diva-level demands. Special entrances, guaranteed spotlight, press blackouts. She wanted the royal treatment without the royal grace to back it up. One organizer said privately, "It's not worth the trouble. There's always drama. Always a scene. Always strings attached." Meanwhile, her team, what's left of it, is reportedly in free fall. Staff are quitting, leaks are constant, morale is non-existent. Her PR firm, they've shifted from reputation building to reputation salvaging. And the real kicker? Her own marriage. The one piece of her story that once gave her legitimacy is starting to work against her. Prince Harry, the man who once represented her ticket to the global stage, is now being dissected alongside her. Every photo, every public appearance, body language experts have built entire YouTube careers analyzing their growing tension, and the public. They're just waiting for the fall. Even Netflix, once the Sussex's strongest backer, is pulling away. Budgets have been slashed. Meghan's creative control has reportedly been revoked. Executives are done waiting for prestige content and now just want anything that won't turn into a PR disaster. One insider told Deadline, "We expected the crown. What we got was a daytime blog with royal undertones." Let that sink in. That's how far her brand has fallen. From global icon to digital clickbait. But if you think this is just a media problem, think again. Behind the velvet ropes and glossy headlines is a financial situation that's starting to reek of legal fire. Banks like Wells Fargo and First Republic have reportedly flagged unusual activity tied to Meghan's business accounts. Delayed filings. It's all adding up, not in the way accountants like charity compliance experts are already circling. And fraud risk are starting to enter the conversation. If those gain traction, this won't just be a media fallout. Paying stylists out of charity funds, you're not just bending rules. You're daring regulators to come knocking, and they might. Meanwhile, Meghan's media value has evaporated. She used to be able to land a magazine cover with just a vague quote or a candid photo. Now, nothing. Page 6 reported that People magazine, a longtime Meghan-friendly outlet, dropped a planned cover story after internal pushback. Editors didn't want the backlash. Advertisers didn't want the association, and if you know anything about Hollywood, you know that once advertisers back away, you're not a brander, a liability. Her own team reportedly knows it too. Internal conflicts, disputes about strategy, frustration over canceled meetings, but those around her are losing faith. The leaks, the lawsuits, the unpaid bills, they're not just headlines, they're symptoms. Symptoms of a once glamorous story spinning out of control. And that's the tragic irony here, because Meghan Markle's entire brand was built on one thing: breaking away. From the palace, from the crown, from the control. She walked away from royalty with her head high and a vision of independence. That vision is crumbling. Bit by bit, deal by deal, friend by friend. And in this town where loyalty is currency and credibility is everything, she's spent both. What we're witnessing isn't a sudden collapse, it's a slow, methodical dismantling. Not a scandal that ends in a dramatic courtroom moment, but something even more devastating in Hollywood terms. Silence, no invitations, no premieres, no collaborations. Meghan Markle's name, once a magnet for global headlines, is now a PR red flag. It's not just that she's controversial. Hollywood knows how to handle controversy. In fact, it thrives on it. But what it doesn't tolerate is unpredictability with no upside. And right now, Meghan brings the drama but not the draw. Even her closest industry allies are stepping back. Gayle King, once seen as her loudest cheerleader on American television, has gone quiet. No recent mentions, no supportive segments, no subtle nods, just silence. And that silence? It's not accidental. It's strategic. Because when someone like Oprah or even Tyler Perry decides it's safer not to speak your name, that's not a pause. That's a pivot. The truth is, Hollywood doesn't forget, but it does move on fast. It's not personal, it's survival. The moment you become more risk than reward, you're done. Titles can't save you. Connections can't save you. And, in Meghan's case, even the prince by her side can't pull the narrative back on track. And here's where it gets even more stark. Meghan isn't just facing a reputational black hole, she's facing potential legal consequences. Former art contractors are speaking out. Some say they were left chasing reimbursements for months. Others claim payments suddenly stalled when negative headlines appeared as if public pressure directly affected the organization's checkbook. One vendor told the Daily Wire they had to threaten legal action just to get what they were owed, and another described a pattern of delays, ghosting, and last-minute clarifications about their contracts. Almost as if the system was designed to stall rather than pay. And that's no longer just messy. That's dangerous, especially when the IRS has reportedly been tipped off. No formal investigation has been announced yet, but nonprofit attorneys are already using phrases like improper, allocation of funds, and personal benefit from charitable resources. In California, that can trigger everything from heavy fines to the dismantling of the organization itself. This isn't the glamorous fairy tale Meghan once sold. It's the reality of a collapsing empire built on borrowed time, borrowed trust, and borrowed money. The saddest part, it didn't have to end like this. Meghan had everything. Global attention, sympathy, a royal title, a partner in Harry, and a media industry willing to roll out the red carpet. She had the world's most powerful figures backing her, from Oprah to the Obamas. And she had a story people wanted to believe in. But stories can't survive on PR alone. At some point, you have to deliver, and Meghan didn't. The content wasn't there. The consistency wasn't there. The leadership wasn't there. And now, the belief isn't there either. Today, Meghan Markle stands not as a cautionary tale of a woman's silence, but of a woman who had every microphone, every platform, and every spotlight, and still lost the room. Because in Hollywood, you can fight the system, you can challenge the crown, you can even rewrite the narrative. But what you can't do is lose credibility, and once that's gone, so is everything else. Asterisk if you found this story revealing. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. The world of Hollywood, royalty, and power is always shifting in. What's coming next could be even more explosive. Hit that button, join the community, and stay ahead of the story.